Hi everyone, and welcome to the assignment preparation tutorial for the second assignment. Okay, so firstly it's due on the 4th of October. It's worth 2,000 words and you can have an appendix, but we'll talk a bit more about that later. So you need to choose a topic from one of these, and then you're going to use library search tools, and we'll talk a bit more about that to find information to use in your report. Now, down here on the left hand side in your Interact site, you will see the online meeting section. If you scroll right down to the bottom, you'll find a library session that Adele Miles has done. There is also a second one that that I will make available after I've done this recording for you to have a look at grey literature and credible websites. Now, I've prepared a document that will be available for you to go through as well. Now, so you're going to choose a topic. You're going to do the search, find and read, write a review, write some recommendations. Now, cultural competence, most of you will have undertaken the subject that we have available in this degree. If you did not do that subject, you will have come with credit. Therefore, please refer back to whatever that subject was at your previous place of education to help you with this. So there's some definitions here which have been supplied by Dr. Jess Biles, who is an expert in cultural safety and cultural competence. We also have some factors here that we've put there to help you think about what might be the sort of capabilities or principles that you think about. So they might be dignity, respect, mindful, cultural awareness, diversity, but you can also look at the ethical principles that are in the modules on this subject. You can look at registered nurse standards and codes of conduct as well. So it's about linking to what you find in the literature with those things. But now the format. So you're going to have an introduction where you're going to introduce the topic and provide a summary about what the paper will contain, and that's that signposting. Background, you're going to give some background information about what the topic is about. You might have some definitions, you might have some information about the culture and the importance of having information about that. In your analysis is where you're going to discuss and go through the literature you have found to build your recommendations. Here you're going to do some linking to the cultural competence variables or ethical principles to the literature you are analysing. You're going to use dot points or numerals to state the recommendation and give a rationale. And then you're going to have a conclusion that summarises key points, but there's no new idea. So the type of references you're going to have: peer-reviewed papers. You might use a textbook for a definition, and that would be fine. Government literature and other grey literature, and there's some information about that. And in the second recording by Adele, there's information about that. You can use policies and procedures from local health districts, but don't just use them. Make sure that there's other things that you use. And credible websites or association websites may also be credible, and you can have a look using the tools that Adele gives you. So there's some information here about how to put this together, and we've got some chat sessions available for you with Sharon Laver on Monday evening and Wednesday morning, and if people turn up and ask questions, they'll be recorded. It is not a formal teaching session, it's just for you to go in and ask questions. Now, here's a paper that was a similar sort of paper, but hasn't got quite as many words as what you're doing. So this was on non-English speaking backgrounds and gynecological malignancies. And you'll be able to have a look at this paper as you go. Then they've got some lovely signposting here in the end of this introduction. Now you're going to be a bit bigger in each of the sections because you've got more words. This is a smaller assignment. The background gives you some idea. So in this case, the communication and mindful communication is what this person is linking in this area. Now this assignment was slightly different in that they did not need to, they did some linking in the analysis, but you might also add in to your recommendations, which I'll show you here. You might add in your cultural competence variable or your ethical principle as well. So let's go back to the format and we'll go through this a bit more. So we've had a look at the introduction briefly, the background we've just skipped past, and the analysis, but you can read them in a great deal more detail. Now this is a good pass paper, high pass, close to a credit. This for you to read, so you can see that this person has found lots of lovely information on the area that they were looking at. And then we come down here to the recommendations, and here we have them. So we've got the recommendation and then the rationale. The recommendation and then a rationale. Now clearly what this person is doing is linking to mindful communication and that kind of thing, but they weren't required to link it quite as strongly as you're being asked to do it. So it would be valuable if you just added in here, and you might say mindful communication promotes dignity for and self-determination in people to decide their own care, for example, and that would be really helpful, I think, there. Then you're going to have a conclusion, and again yours will be longer, and your reference list. Then you might have an appendix. Now that appendix might contain checklists that you've found from grey literature. It might have policies in it from grey, some local health districts. You might have different sorts of things in your appendix there. Okay, I think that's pretty much covered it, but we'll talk about a couple of things that people have talked about on the forum. So the references, in terms of recency, I would think up to 10 years would be fine here, because you're going to find some older information in some of those areas. But if you're going to use older references, it's important to justify why they're so important. I've talked a wee bit about the cultural safety variables, and I noticed somebody on the discussion board has talked about end-of-life care for Indigenous Australians, so things like talking about communication after passing. So that's that sort of dignity in communication and cultural awareness about the communication is different with different people's culture and their backgrounds. So they're the sort of things that that you can talk about and link to. Other people are asking for peer-reviewed literature, and I've talked about the use of grey literature and cultural and credible websites. You feel free to use those as long as they are credible, and you can use Adele's recording to go through that. Okay, I think I've talked about everything so far. There might be things you think about, and that would be great, and post them on the forum. We're looking forward to your questions. So I hope that has been helpful to help you have an understanding about what you're to do, and we look forward to your next assignment.